Hi everyone, Vonnie here, and it's another video for the 12 Days of Yule started by Ivy the Occultist. So today's prompt what's today? It's day 8, and today's prompt was working with the spirits of Yule. And if you have any house spirits or land spirits or anything that you work with. Now, I was going to say that I normally don't work with spirits because it can be very frustrating and confusing when you have psychosis. And like I've mentioned before, I have schizophrenia and suffer through psychosis regularly. So my working with spirits, I'm still before I just not at all. I don't mess with it, nothing, because it was easier for me. So I'm still learning this year. This year, I've started to better. I'm feeling more comfortable in my psychosis, like understanding it and understanding my spirituality and how to blend the two together. So I'm still learning and still working through it. However, I did remember I have house spirits. Now, one of the stories of this house was built in 1993 by the first doctor of my town. And apparently, I don't know when, but a maid fell into the cistern. And when the original owner of this house was telling me about it, I was like, well, did she live? Did they find her? And it's like, yeah, they found her. But she would not answer the question, did she live? So my kids, when we first moved in, we heard a lot of like people on the stairs, walking in the library. We heard a lot of footsteps and no one was there. So my kids say that it's the maid just checking the rooms. I don't actually know what it is. I haven't asked. It doesn't bother me because if it's just footsteps. That's all you hear is footsteps throughout the house. It can be startling because it can be completely quiet and then you hear someone walking. And since my kids like to wake up in the middle of the night to be little gremlins, either playing video games or eating stuff they shouldn't at midnight or something, we get confused. We're like, didn't we hear somebody down here walking? No, nobody. So it can be a little startling, but it's never an issue. It's never annoying. It's just the spirit walking through the house, investigating, making sure things are set. I kind of attune them to the fae. I don't know what they are, but they're very mischievous. I'll tell you a little story. So my pentacle necklace, I haven't been wearing it lately because I live in a very small town. But my pentacle necklace is very precious to me. It hangs above my bed. And I try and keep it with me as much as I can. I have a little pentacle on my keychain that I hold and fondle. But for the most part, it's my pentacle necklace. It's not a very expensive necklace. It was only like $10, maybe 14 at most, because it came with a chain. But it's sterling silver and it's my favorite necklace. I put it on my nightstand. I go to look for it one day and it's gone. It's just fucking gone. I looked around the nightstand. I looked under my bed. I looked at every crevice I could possibly think of. And so I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. So one friend had suggested, oh, why don't you pray about it? And I don't always answer. I don't always pray about it. But I was like, well, they're like, well, why don't you send like an offering thanking? And I was like, an offering? And I'm like, I know what kind of offering to make. So I put on a little bowl, a little slice of butter and put it outside. In the morning, the butter's gone, probably wildlife, but my pentacle necklace shows up. And the exact spot I left it where I fucking looked for it. Because I tore my nightstand apart. I took it, like, I was trying to find this. And it's there in my nightstand where I left it. So every time things go missing, it's a reminder to leave an offering. So we haven't had any mischievous stuff happen lately, but that's because recently it's now kind of like a little ritual. I leave a little slice of butter, especially when we only have a little bit left anyway. A little slice of butter, like once a month, out in the back porch. But when I told my daughter thought it was hilarious. My oldest, she's like, "Oh, it's fairies," and I was like, "Probably," but those are the only spirits that I work with. I try and like the spirits of the land. Since we live close to the country, we get a lot of wildlife, and my children are seriously like Disney princesses that I tell them, because they will sit outside and have like food in their hand. Squirrels will come and eat out of their hand. Bunnies will come and eat out of their hand. But they won't do it with anybody else. They're like, how? It's just like, it's just patience. They're not patient with each other, but they're patient enough with wildlife to like to test. They test the waters a lot. If they frighten it, then they just leave it alone. But they're really good with wildlife, which is interesting because they're city kids. But yeah, we find a lot of dead animals, and like there was a bunny. There's been a couple of bunnies and a couple of squirrels that we found dead in our yard. Usually it's from a tomcat or a stray, or even falcons, hawks, things like that. And we find them, and what we do is we make kind of like a grave, and we lay them. We don't dig up anything. We just let them decay and return to the land. And my son likes to make little crosses out of sticks, and we just leave them. There's probably now a pile of dead animals in one corner of the garden. But yeah, we leave them in the garden. We rest them, and like I said, my son does a little cross made out of sticks or tall grass or something, and we just let them return to the land. Their spirits are free, and they are to return to the land, and that's the only way that I work with spirits. Anyway, I've been babbling. But yeah, it was interesting, like, actually thinking about this, because I'm always like, oh, I don't work with spirits, but sure as shit, I do, just on a different level. So anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying your winter break. If you have it, things are changing for me. I might be posting less because I now have 2 jobs, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying the winter season, and brightest blessings.